Today's another first. We're not happy with how the bow pieces have been stuck and how they're lining up and how they were cut, and so we've decided to take it out, which is debonding my first piece off the model. We had actually installed the first two Hawsepieces. Following the instructions in the book, we're now going to go through the process of taking these parts off. It's Sunday and drugstores, I only had a few choice drugstores open. All I could find was 90% isopropyl alcohol. During the week I'll try and find some 99%, but I'm going to start the job using this. So I've never done this, so I'm going to just put a little bit out and start by soaking the joint down. So we're going to put a little pressure here. It was much easier than I thought. So that's one out. We want to cut the dowel out. Well, that went much easier than I thought. So that's pretty good. Some of the mistakes made is this inside, when I machined it on the shearline milling machine, I took too much off here. The same as I took off here. And then when I went to put it in, I used a 1.5 inch spacer on the top and the bottom and adjusted until it goes. But this top space is only 0.75, 3/4 of an inch, whereas the space on the bottom is 1.5 inches. The other issue I had is when I started looking at traversing lines, they were all over the place. So I'm going to come back and clean them up on the model to make sure they're in exactly the same space, and then make sure that the traversing lines here match as I go back. So the final measurements, just to go through them one last time. To the traversing line, it is 17 feet or 204 inches, which on the scale ruler is 4.25. To the center of the hole is 17 feet plus 12 inches to get to the bottom of the hole. The hole is 8 inches in diameter, so plus 4 inches. So that takes us to 220 inches from the ground, or 4.583. And then to the top traversing line where the airspace starts, it's 236, because you have to add 4 inches to get back to the top of the hole, plus 12 inches. So that takes you up to 236 inches or 4.92. Again, I translate all of that back onto the scale square board. The first challenge I'm having is that we've run out of 15-inch stock. So I've ripped some juniper on my table saw. It's a nice hard, a local wood, very hard, very dense, and I'm going to make up some stock, and then we'll get back to making the parts. So the first part is on a jointer, because these pieces of wood are quite warped, and then we put it through the thickness planer. All done. all dimensionally perfect. So lots of stock for my 15-inch work going forward. I'm not going to dimension anymore at this point in time. I think this is more than enough to do what I have to do. Prior to this video, every time you saw me sticking the tracing paper cutouts that I'd made of the various parts, they were done with contact cement because I couldn't find rubber cement anywhere. Well, I finally found some in a craft shop, and this is going to be the first time I'm going to be using it. We've cut the two pieces out on the bandsaw, cleaned them up on the spiral sander, and now we're going to put the 34.5-degree cut. And I'm going to do this on the bench sander that I have. We've installed the port side, and it lines up much better. Really very pleased with it. And this time we have the 3/4 inch shim in place, so that makes sure that we have really a tight, close fit. And they're both in, they're both tight, and looking good. And I have to say the cleanup is much easier using the rubber cement. This is pulling it right off. And you can roll it off. And the most important thing is to line up the traversing lines. And you can see lines up perfectly on that side, and the same on this side. We've also taken the dimensions of the 90-degree board to establish the top traversing line and the center of the hawse hole on both sides. So we're going to draw those on, and then we can start shaping. I had a lot of trouble getting the 3/4 inch cut on the Hawsepieces. It went all over the place, so I'm going to rely back on my sliding table. So for those of you who don't have a milling machine, this works just as good. I made this little jig, and I was able to get to set the depth of cut and get it exactly what I wanted on the caliper, which is 0.156, and I'm at 155. So by the time I sand it, it'll come down to 156. And this is what it looks like. So you just take a chisel and you take all those ridges off, and you get a perfect reduction in the thickness of this line. And now we do the other side. So here we have it all cut. So it's just to clean up now and to use the chisels to set the traversing lines. We've made up a spacer for setting the number 2 piece, and it's set at 0.36, which is 1.5 inches. All the correct spacings are in now, and But you can just see it's a much better fit. Everything is much tighter than before. And we just clean up. I've chosen not to take down the sides as yet because when I want to do filing, or if I want to hold this in a vise, I need the square sides. So I'm actually doing it, the sequence, a little different than what has been suggested in the book. I'm going to sand the hole now, simply because I can hold it in the vise. I have marked the timber on both sides with a 6-inch line, and using the vise as my gauge, and this side needs to go down a little bit more. So these are the 2 hawse holes, cut, sanded, and now we can put the lines on and take them down. David likes his sharp chisels. As you get to use this tool, it really makes easy work. You just have to be very careful not to take too much out of it. We need to clean the air spaces. So I have this little piece of wood here because it's going to be very difficult to clean it afterwards when the glue hardens. So you clean the bottom, the top of the airspace just below the traversing line, and the upper airspace. It's very important that the 2 surfaces that have glue, which is right here where the hawse hole is, and where the heel of number 2 touches the forward camp frame, that is very tightly connected. So this clamp here is very important. We've stuck the port side, and we leave that for a few hours to set. Pay particular attention to the 2 spacers that we've put in there. The one at the bottom is 1.5 inches. The one at the top is 3/4 of an inch. We've clamped it in here to give it strength. I'm not sure where I went wrong, that this didn't end up exactly on this line. As I said, I'm not sure where I went wrong, but we were able to take this down using the chisel. I also saw no reference in the book as to the height that we were supposed to cut this off, so I took it off the plan, and the plan has it at 22 feet 6 inches, sloping back down that way. So I think we might cut them all at 22.6, and then when we have the front piece finished, take everything down according to the plan. So we're complete now. We've cleaned up the holes and everything seems to be according to plan. And with that, we're going to bring this video to an end.